Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I am Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello.
Hello. Now, Trevor, we have a bit of a milestone this week, I believe.
Later on this week, yes.
Well, yes. It'll be a few days after we release, but it will have been 1 year since we started Bitstorm, spinning it off from our previous podcast, Two Sweary Dads. So congratulations.
Yay, we stuck with a podcast for a year.
Woohoo! It's been fun.
It has.
We switched from our every 2 week format when we were beginning, which is why we're not quite at episode 52 yet, but 1 year.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We're at 42, so we're only 10 behind.
Yep. Anyway, what are we doing this week?
Shall we play some Click Pitch?
Shall we play some Click Pitch? That's what you all came here for, right? Click Pitch? So Click Pitch. What's Click Pitch, Trevor? You telling me this week.
I have a random word generator. I don't know what you've got, but I've got a random word generator, and I click refresh, and I give you a random word, and then you somehow come up with your random word. And we put them together and try to come up with a game idea.
I have this special quantum word generator that sits in the corner of my room humming quietly, and
fantastic.
It spits words out of portals from alternate dimensions.
Well, maybe one day I'll be able to see that in VR.
There you go. That's the first thing we'll build in our VR studio.
Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click. Indeed. Population.
Enlightenment.
So, enlightenment could be taken in a couple of different ways, I suppose.
Okay. It's a world of arsonists.
Okay. Keep going. I like where this is going.
Okay. And so you're a fire chief.
Uh-huh.
Who either has to put out all the fires, or does he have to set some extra ones? I don't know. If it's a world full of arsonists, is he an arsonist, or is he trying to change everyone's mind? And he's trying to maybe he's trying to bring them to enlightenment and
of not setting fires.
Of not setting fires. So that's his whole idea. So either he's an arson investigator,
he's trying to enlighten them by stopping them from enlightening things.
Yes.
How has this world built anything? I guess they've just managed to build everything really fireproof.
Yeah. So I'm thinking you could almost set it in the early 80s or late 70s before they realized that asbestos was really bad.
Okay, so everything's built out of asbestos.
Pretty much.
So it's a world full of arsonists with very high death rates.
Yeah, and they don't know why. And you're either a fire chief or an arson investigator, and you're trying to stop people and try to enlighten them into not doing said lighting of fires.
So, okay. How does this game play out?
Okay, so I'm seeing it as a LA Noire style.
All right, we're going back to that well. Okay,
going back to that well, yeah. Just because I love the graphics of that and the uncanny valley of it.
Yep. So you're questioning people to find out if they set that specific fire, since all of them have set some fires.
Yeah, and maybe in this world there are designated spots that you can go set fires.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. In a population of arsonists, they'd figure out some sort of order to their need to set things on fire.
Yeah, and there's a serial arsonist out there who's, decided to put people's lives in danger, whereas everyone else, they do it at, the gun ranges, as it were, the fire ranges.
Yep.
I'm seeing it as, these people are really scared because they like lighting fires too, and people that
but they don't want to burn to death.
But they don't want to burn to death. But what happens is when these fires get set, they actually, they can't look away because they love the look of fire burning. So anyone in the area ends up getting burnt to death.
Right, so they're like moths to a flame if they actually, like, run into a fire in the wild. So this person... So how are they managing to set these fires if everything's made out of asbestos? They're just like... find some flammable materials and, so it's not even maybe that they're lighting buildings on fire. It's just they're lighting bonfires and people are walking directly into them because they can't look away.
Yeah, and maybe with some of these things you can find out that, this one had a remote detonator to actually set the fire. And
right.
So this guy isn't even doing it for pleasure. He's just doing it for the destruction.
To me, this feels like less of a adventure-y sort of thing and more of an arcade sort of thing where these fires keep popping up on a map that you're looking down upon and you have to somehow, like, guide the people away from them to stop them from walking directly into the fire, like putting down barriers and deploying. You've got, like, cops with, I don't know, some sort of glasses on that blocks them from the bright, intense flames that they would otherwise be overwhelmingly attracted to.
You see them and they've got, like, those horse-like blinders on.
Yeah, they've got
so
blinders
they can only see forward.
So that's part of your strategy, because if the arsonist sets another fire that's in their vision, then you've lost that cop. They just become one of the masses heading towards these fires.
So I reckon your one fire chief, he's got a disability in that he doesn't like setting fires.
Yeah. They all call him Johnny No Fire. Johnny No Flame. I don't know.
I love it.
I like that. Well, there's more we can do there, I think. Like, so yeah, you're doing top down. Are you actually having to run around then? Is it more of a sort of placing things from a godlike position, or are you controlling the fire chief?
I think you got to control the one person. But he can, like, shout out orders. He can direct people into certain places. But if you happen to direct them too close to the fire, then you may actually lose that person to the thrall of the fire.
Yeah, so you have to strategically set up big barriers that will stop the view, like stop them being able to see the fire through them, so you can, like, block off this street where that fire is on the other side of it, so you can guide your cops, through that street to get to a point where they need to be stopping other people in some way. I don't know how they stop the other people. Do they have a fucking stun gun or something? Or are they just... Is the authority of a policeman enough to stop these people from just walking directly towards these intoxicating flames?
I think you have to be close enough to actually affect their mood, so if... And depends on how big the fire is. I mean, if the fire is really big, then you're going to only be able to, talk to, sort of 3 or 4 people at a time and get them to take their attention away from it.
So maybe these policemen are also, like, trained negotiators.
But if they get too close, then they're just like,
they're sucked
it's
into
amazing.
It too. Yeah. And the people, you'll just get the occasional little fire that just a random person has set, because they're all just constantly trying to find things to set fire. Maybe there's, like, fuel around. Maybe there's scattered litter or certain places that they can gather fuel from, and if they get too close to that as well, they'll start setting their own fires.
You got to look at the morale of each person that you're talking to, and if you see them fidgeting with a lighter, then you've got to
confiscated. And yeah, every person has a little meter of how close they are to setting a fire. All right, I think we'll click again.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1, click.
Present.
Adapter.
Okay. It's a VR game.
Okay.
And it's your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And as a present, you got the super brand new gaming console from overseas. Hasn't come out here yet. But you're so disappointed when you open it when you realize that the power it needs the power adapter.
Yep.
for like it doesn't plug into your PowerPoint. And then your presents
So what
go.
can you do
then your
to
parents
fix it?
go. Well, then your parents go. It's okay. We got you these. And they drop 30 more small presents in your lap, and they're all different adapters that go from one type to another. And you have all these like weird plug types with different shaped plugs and different configurations, and it's a puzzle game basically. You have to figure out the correct order to plug them into.
That all 30 have to be used.
Well, you might be able to shortcut it if once you learn like the properties of it and stuff, because they have like voltage changes and different things in there. Yeah, okay. There's a lot we could do with that, I think.
Yeah, okay, I like it. I was going to go down the route of, you got a present for Christmas, and it didn't come with the adapter, and that you had to go out and go into the world and
track
find
one
the
down.
adapter. But no, I like this.
Yeah, because you could bring lots of interesting puzzle mechanics in, and we don't do too many sort of pure puzzle games. And I mean, this wouldn't have to be in VR, but I feel like it would feel nice to be grabbing these things and plugging them into each other and such.
Yeah, I mean, you could do some logic puzzle sort of things. You've got like the OR gates, you got AND gates, and
oh yeah, once you get down to that level, but you could present it in a way like you could use colors as sort of different, not quite different voltage levels, and you're much better at electronics than I am, but just like, you have to, part of the puzzle is like this one's a joining adapter, and so you actually have to plug like two different types, like a blue and a yellow into this one because the final console needs green power or something, right? You have to find the way to connect them all to get a path from blue. You've got blue coming out of the wall, and then you get a splitter that splits the yellow component out. I don't know, whatever. In the end, to get the green.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you could do some really cool stuff. And obviously there's the physical side of things, that these things have to actually physically fit together with the plug size, like the plug types and the shape of the adapters themselves, not obviously overlapping in physical space.
I'm just imagining that there's going to be like some puzzles that you have to actually use two adapters at the same time, but you actually do it as a you end up having four prongs sort of sticking out. You plug two of them in so that one's on one leg, one's on the other, and it's got the four legs coming out to the next one that you've then got to put the next one on, because
there are you start learning all these little tricks that you're not actually using these adapters for their intended use, but it means that you can like do one of those joins or something.
I'm now picturing maybe you can have some fuses along the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, if they get overloaded, so you've got to actually put in the right amount of voltage before stepping it up to the next thing. So
maybe that's maybe in the easy level you have fuses, and in the hard level you don't. And so if you fuck it up along the way, it just blows your game console and you have to start over again.
You open it up and it's my favorite thing, a nail. The ultimate fuse.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't know. Do you have anything else for that?
Well, I'm seeing some achievements.
Yeah.
Of managing to use all 30 adapters, like just this one long line coming out of the wall.
Oh yeah, well I'm kind of thinking different levels, right? So you build up to it. So the first level might actually just be 3 adapters or something that'll fit together in a relatively simple way.
Yeah, and the final level of 500 individually wrapped adapters in which you have to actually, use your finger to find the tape.
You have to unwrap each one. And you have to get it done before next Christmas or next birthday.
As you're going, it's like every minute, it's a day. Within the.
Well, I'm thinking that every level is like your next birthday as well. So by the time you get to the end, you're actually like a 60-year-old person. And Still playing with game consoles and adapters.
Maybe you're now doing it to your own kids.
Yeah, you pass it down. Well, maybe every time you fail, like, depending on how long it takes you to actually finish the game and how many attempts, because, every time you fuck it up, you blast out your game, you short out your game console, and so you don't get another one till your next birthday. So it tells you at the end, like, how many generations later you finally finished it. It was your great-grandchildren who finally got through the last level.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Click refresh. 3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah.
Vast.
Oh, yeah. No, it's just year. Vast year. That's evocative.
It is. I'm thinking space travel.
Okay. So it's like
the vastness of space.
It's a year on a spaceship. Like, you start taking off from Earth and you're like heading to somewhere to colonize some other planet, and it's going to be a year to get there. And obviously this is close to light speed or something. We're managing to travel into other solar systems in that time, which would otherwise not be possible. Are you a single person? Are you do you have a crew? Are you controlling one person in the crew or the whole crew?
I kind of like the idea of the cruising cryostasis, and you're like the one android who's aboard who has to look after.
So you don't actually age, but you've got this year ahead of you alone. Yeah. This could be one of those really interesting, just sort of fairly simple, like, what's that environmental storytelling kind of thing where you I like the idea of it literally just there's this whole build up to it. It's like it's all dramatic. You're going off, you're colonizing, blah blah blah. You go through your little routine, and this can be sort of even part of the tutorial on how to control things in the ship of putting the crew into their cryostasis. And you go through all that. It's the tutorial, and you get through, and you put the last crew member into stasis, and then it's just you
and the ship's AI.
Oh, maybe maybe that comes out later. I like the idea of it literally just being you, and the game doesn't give you anything else, and you just have to all you can do is like start exploring the ship. And you sort of start exploring the computer systems and stuff, and you can read through like the bios of the crew and read a bit of history, and then sort of once, and you can set it up so that you stumble across the right sort of stuff. And then, maybe there is a way to then activate the ship's AI, and that can give you, it's like, oh, now you've got someone to kind of talk to, and the whole year it can be this sort of narrative, exploratory narrative of these conversations between the android and the AI, and just discovering things. And you can get like news reports from Earth, but they like at the beginning they're coming fairly often, but obviously as you get further and further away, it takes longer for them to get to you, so they become few and further between.
What I'm liking is, you can like give yourself some busy work to sort of do of maybe there's some small repairing tasks that need doing, and then your daily sort of checklist of doing things. But if you don't do the checklist, like things can start breaking, because
you know what could be really interesting if the year played out in real time.
Oh, God.
No, but it's like it's almost like a phone game where you've just got these little tasks to do each day. Like, people like those games where you just have to sort of tend to things. And each day you have your little tasks, and you can have some sort of incentives for doing that. You can like unlock different things or whatever, but
unlock new bios to read.
Well, yeah, but part of that could be the reports coming from Earth as time goes on, and you'll get a little notification on your phone. It's like, oh, there's a new message from Earth telling how things are going there. And like, it's climate change, right? Like, the Earth is dying, basically. You've left it to go out and colonize a new Earth to hopefully build a new civilization and maybe come back and rescue the, by then, savage survivors living on this barren planet. It's just been
But somehow they're able to
heated
send
up.
out an interstellar message.
Well, yeah, there's because the government, they're corrupt and whatever. They still have all their. They're not going to be the ones to. It's not going to happen in a year. I just mean by the time you can build your civilization and get back, like the world's going to be fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, you sort of get the progress of that over time.
So are we going with the whole time dilation thing, that the closer that you are to light speed, the faster time actually goes for,
For everyone else.
outside of the
Yeah,
everyone else?
well, yeah, I guess so. So it could actually be that it's a year for you, but
it's
for
7
everyone
years
else,
for-
it's like some huge amount of time, and so that could be part of it too.
I like the idea that if you don't tend to your tasks, like you've got, X number of tasks to do
Yep.
a day,
Yep.
but if you don't tend to the tasks, then the things that you haven't been tending to actually start breaking down, and you got to do harder tasks to sort of fix them.
Yeah, so does that mean there's a failure state? Like
I
if you
think so.
haven't kept up with them enough,
Then you putting the mission in jeopardy.
right?
It's the whole idea that if you're saying that this is a mobile game and that
That it's. I feel like it's
buying it, you're
pretty.
basically saying
Actually, yeah. Okay, go on.
buying it, you're saying you're basically dedicating yourself to a year of playing this game to get the people there successfully in
Yep.
365 days of doing tasks. They will get there, but there is a failure state. If you miss too many days of doing your tasks, then things start breaking down, and you must
Yep.
repair it, and to the point that you can actually start losing some crew.
But
The failure state is everyone dying, basically.
okay, but what I was going to say is because you could get to a point where it's like, oh shit, I've been lax on this for too many days. There's no way I can bring this back from the brink. I'm close to losing someone. And then the AI pops up and says, for just $5.99, we can have Earth send a burst of whatever, like magic reparo beam. Or like, all right, we can power the magic reparo ray that's built into this ship that's powered by Earth dollars, and bring you back up to scratch. There's your microtransactions for this game.
Okay, so what are the tasks?
I mean, I think that we can just come up with some little mini games that are somewhat fun, but it can kind of be the classic phone stuff, I think. Like the real interesting part of this is the sort of story-based stuff and the setting.
Yep.
So you have to reconfigure the warp drive, and that's like a match 3 game of some sort.
And then you've got to, do some repairing to the ship's computer, and that's like a word search because it's started losing words out of the thesaurus or something.
Yeah, you have to like sometimes rewire, the food pumps that are pumping food into the crew, and that's like a pipe dream, rip off. Sometimes you're going through an asteroid field, and then you're playing Breakout.
Asteroids.
or asteroids, I guess. I was thinking if your fuck off. I was thinking of like your shields bouncing back the asteroids or something. But yeah, it could be asteroids. What could be an interesting thing for this, if you were able to do it with enough hype, or maybe you just, anyway, what I was going to say is that every person playing actually starts on the same day, and you can get stats about each other. Like maybe the idea is like Earth sent off hundreds of ships to different destinations.
Millions of ships, because that's how many people
we want to play this game. Millions of ships to destinations that all, for some reason, have to be exactly a year away. But
it's all the same place. It's
they're all going to the same place. It's just like redundancy.
Yeah, I think this is Earth recolonizing a planet. You're not the initial one going off. You're just a person, or you're an android who's looking after X number of people.
Right. Okay, well, maybe it's... Okay, I guess... Because I was thinking of making it almost an event sort of based thing, and you can start getting stats on, like, how everybody else is doing and how many other survivors there are on ships. Either you get stats, or at the end of the year you find out this is how many people survived. But the problem with that is that if it becomes really popular, do we just not let people start a game? if they buy it 5 days after we start it. So maybe it's that people who start playing on a certain day of the year are all
they can get stats on all those other people who start on that.
Who
same
started
day.
on that day. Like they're sort of that. It's that universe. It's that parallel universe that sent their ships out on October 4th, 2017.
Yeah, I mean, you can start your year-long journey wherever.
Yeah.
Whenever you want.
But there could be some really interesting crossovers, and you could actually, you could maybe send messages or I don't know, you could have some sort of semi-multiplayer, or communication or...
Only if you do enough tasks to repair the communications array.
Right. Yeah.
Or you pay $5.99.
Actually, I think there are legs on this. That has some interesting ideas around what you can do with a mobile game, and creating something that is something that people want to go back to daily, but isn't just the standard sort of play the same thing every day.
Yep.
With the overarching story and stuff, that could be really interesting.
I think, if you start reading into the bios and you start reading into some of the things that actually were happening between a couple of different people, maybe all of a sudden you go into a Judge Baboon case.
Tied into our other studio's mobile game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's just Easter egg crossovers. Maybe there's a Judge Baboon case that is some of the crew members before they leave on this trip.
Yeah.
That we put into Judge Baboon, and we'll just throw some sneaky Judge Baboon references into the bios, like it's their favorite show or something. Yeah, I like that. That's really cool. I kind of want to build that game. Anyway, I'm not going to because I don't have time. But somebody build it.
Yeah, kind of like last week, Bellboy Blast,
Bellhop. We kept calling them Bellboys. Are we calling it Bellboy just because that's what we're running with? Even though
well, I like BBB. Bellboy
that's
Blast.
True. Bellboy Blast. Maybe this week we should make Ball Boy Blast, and it's like a tennis ball boy
in VR.
Oh fuck! All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah.
March
comic. I was sort of hoping that you'd say Captain.
Well, that's been done. So March obviously could be the month, or it could be the verb.
Mm-hmm.
Comic could be the noun, or, well, it's different types of nouns, I guess, but a comic book, or a comedian, or just something comical.
I've been watching a lot of 30 Rock lately.
Okay.
So I'm seeing this as you're like a producer of a sketch comedy sort of show.
Yep.
And it's got to March. You've got till May to actually get this show up in the ratings.
Okay.
Or you're cancelled.
Okay.
So it's sort of like, I like the idea of it being, you got 2 months of shows.
Yep.
To actually try and plan and get it up there.
So is this a building like a tycoon-y sort of feel? Do you get to actually build your studio and hire?
I think it's an existing show that has existing writers on it.
Okay.
But
if you want, you can just fire them all and bring on new fresh ones.
You might have to, with these 2 months or however much, we could actually make it, the Australian TV year, which sort of starts in March and goes through to like September or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've got, X number of months to get this show making money for the studio.
Okay.
And if you really fuck it up, you can be cancelled in 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 episodes. As what's happened with a couple of Australian comic shows.
Yeah. So it's okay. I like this. I kind of like that it's all about the money, because as the producer, then you have to decide, okay, do I just go like totally lowbrow and hope that pays off in that more people will watch it, even though personally everybody involved feels horrible about making it. Like, I just mean lowest common denominator, like not actually clever jokes. Big Bang Theory, basically. or like fucking 2.5 Men, or do you sort of try to make it a bit more clever, hope that it catches on as like a cult following sort of thing because it, speaks to a certain segment of the population really strongly to the point that they tell their friends and word of mouth spreads and, the fact that it's actually a good show.
Like the IT crowd.
Yeah, something like that.
Or like Rick and Morty.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm thinking more like, well, so are we making, because we said sketch comedy originally, or like, I guess you were sort of thinking, 30 Rock's sort of more like a Saturday Night Live kind of thing.
So really, I mean, you could be making an animated show. You could be making, So
it just has to be comedy? Any sort of comedy show?
Any sort of comedy. So you get to sort of hire the talent. You get to You get to maybe decide what sort of show it's going to actually be. What's the demographic that you're going for? Depending on if you chose, animation, you can maybe choose from different sorts of generic like plot lines and that sort of stuff.
Right. So are you actually okay? So I guess how detailed are you going on this? Are you literally episode by episode planning this out?
I think it might be pretty cool to actually have some sort of series arc that you've got to try and come up with.
It'd be interesting. I wonder how easy it would be. I don't think I could do this, but you could probably find someone who could, to write a procedurally generated kind of like, because I'm thinking, you're making a sitcom. It's like, all right, we throw in this A plot, this B plot, this C plot, and it's sort of standard generic things.
Yeah.
But based on the fact that your show has these characters with these sort of archetypes, these main characters, these supporting characters, that you could have the system generate a basic plot outline involving the specific characters.
Yeah.
And then, that could be really interesting because then over time, the relationships between the characters could change in different ways.
And so what worked in season 1 may not work in season 2 or whatever.
Yeah, well, and just the way, like, if you throw in, just the way it would have to, just the way the procedural generation would have to work even, and maybe you'd have some choice, like, so you throw in, an A plot of character goes on a date with a supporting character.
Yep.
And based on the, so far in this season, the existing characters, the procedural generator chooses Norman to go on a date with Jerry because fucking Jennifer is already in a relationship with Barry. And so it wouldn't choose them. But as the producer, you could say, no, fuck this. We're going to mix this up. Jerry is going on a date with Barry because Barry and Jerry just like sound good together as names. But then that just shifts everything, right? Because Barry's already in a relationship with Jennifer. So that's created a whole other set of relationships.
Yep. That you've now got to try and resolve
and the audience might love that or they might hate that, and that's going to depend on how much different segments of the audience like Barry and they think he's cheating or, so you could have some really interesting dynamics. And I mean, this would be hell to code and I would never attempt it, but I feel like it feels possible, it feels like you could it feels like you could put these systems in place to basically generate these stories week by week. And,
definitely.
And then, as the producer, you're just able to like tweak them slightly because it's like, we need more, the plot generator has created a plot that's a bit too run of the mill, a bit too generic. It's not going to like boost ratings enough. And, you can't do that too often because if it's just too crazy and things are changing all the time, well, I mean, for one, it just turns into a soap opera, but.
and then your Nielsen ratings are going to go down.
Yeah, you lose your audience. So sometimes they just want, the same old thing and like a standard sort of sitcom plot, but every now and then you want to shake it up a bit, and then every now and then you throw in a bottle episode because your budget's low. It's like no new sets, no extra characters. We're only paying our primaries or whatever. I don't know the lingo.
And then if you decide to do a clip show, then you got to pay the editor extra money, and because they've got to. They've
got to go back through all the old episodes and find the clips. And, yeah.
So you're spending money, but in other ways.
Yeah, that's it. You just got to budget in different ways. You hand that off to the intern.
I'm sort of liking the idea of, with social media, you could actually have like bubbles of people, exploding about whether they love or hate it.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. Like during the episode, you have like these procedurally generated live tweets, people live tweeting the episode and reacting to things. Geez. Again, this would be so difficult to do, but I love the idea of you've thrown all this stuff in the pot. You've decided which characters are attached to which plots, which sets are going to be used in different things. And you've had to actually build these sets in your little studio. And then it just plays out, not quite in real time, obviously, but like each scene plays out in some way. And you just see these little like live streams. You know what this really reminds me of? And I think did we bring this up last week, 2 weeks ago? Lionheads, the movies. And I mean, that was much more in depth than but again, it was sort of plugging scenes together in that way. But sort of similar to that, but a bit more procedurally generated. It's a bit more of, let's throw this together and see what the computer comes up with as opposed to crafting it yourself. I don't think you should give them too much control other than really slotting in which characters are attached to which sort of which plot points. Yeah, you don't want it, procedurally generating the latest Rick and Morty episode and going, how the hell did that happen? I feel like that's somewhat possible, but basically each plot line can have, and this is coming in from a technical level, but sometimes I like to think about that aspect. Each plot line determines that person A involved with this plot line will have this sort of relationship shift with person B in this plot line. Yeah. But if you could have some caveats in there that if there's a prior relationship with another person, then it's going to have this sort of effect, it seems doable. And you could have people just create these little, you could even have user generated content for, if you wrote the system robustly enough for users to write new plot lines and things. Yep. That's cool. But you'd have to be very careful because most of them would just turn out to be like pornographic. Yeah. Yeah, well, you just put out your NSFW pack. And then, you get moved to HBO so you can show all these things. Okay, 3, 2, 1, click. Indication. Signing. That's what signage is for. Indicating things. Okay, so it's an educational game. Okay. In VR. Yes. And it teaches you to do sign language. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say it was a driving thing. It teaches you when to indicate based on the signs. No, I'm thinking sign language. Sign language. You need like the Vive knuckles thing so something you can that can do it. Measure all 5 of your fingers. Yep. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's the only thing I got. Okay, so it's not funny. It's just an educational game. Well, how does it teach you then? Is it that there's someone else? Because that could actually be quite a good way to learn sign language. Is if you've got this virtual person in front of you doing it. I feel like that would be a bit, well, at least somewhat more effective than just watching a video of it. For one, you're seeing it from different angles, which is going to be obviously the case in real life. Yep. And 2, obviously the VR aspect of it. If you can make it that it's actually able to recognize the gestures, which would be tricky. It should be able to with these new knuckles. No. It can measure the fingers, but whether it can translate that into this is the sign you were trying to make. Oh, I'm pretty sure someone's smart enough to do that. I'm sure. Anyway, we'll leave that up to the techies. Leave that up to the developers. Yeah. I'm thinking that it's initially a very basic conversation. Yeah. In which, they're sort of telling you what to actually sign. They actually, maybe you look down at your hands and, as you get each finger into its position, it highlights green. Yeah. And then shows you where to sort of put your hands to and what sort of sign you're making with your hands. Yeah, of course, yeah. So I like the idea. It's not very funny, but no. I like the idea of this being presented as an educational game. And it is. It teaches you to sign language. And by exactly that, it just, first of all, it just puts you in a sort of one-on-one situation. You start learning the basics. But then again, the benefit of VR, you can be put into different situations. So maybe you're put into a classroom and, there are a couple of deaf students that you have to communicate with at different times and maybe simultaneously, like they're both trying to talk to you in sign language and you're having to both understand it and respond in certain ways. And then maybe there's an exercise where you're translating for someone, like you're now becoming a sign language, I guess they call it a translator, like, someone who's up on stage for someone's talk or something, and you have to listen and be translating into sign language at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you get into sort of higher pressure situations. So maybe you're in like a lawyer, like you're working for a lawyer to translate a divorce case with someone who's, one of the partners is deaf. And then all of a sudden, terrorists burst in and they're going to kill everybody. And they're deaf as well, and you have to be the one who translates between them. Otherwise,
you're the negotiator.
Yeah, you're the negotiator. Otherwise, you get a bullet in the fucking head. So, they can just. And the thing is, in that sort of situation, if you make it realistic enough, you're going to learn sign language really, really well.
Okay, and now my final level is after you've had a mental breakdown because of the terrorist.
Okay,
so you become a driving instructor, and you're teaching a deaf student, and you're teaching him how to indicate.
That would be difficult, actually, teaching a deaf student if the only way to communicate is sign language, because they really need to keep their eyes on the road as well.
You can't really have too many conversations.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting challenge. It's like, don't try to talk to them, when they're coming up to a red light, because they're going to look at you and just bust right through it. No, and then the final level is the aliens come down, and now you're Amy Adams in Arrival and having to try to figure out how to communicate with them.
God.
All right. That was good. That was good. We got a lot out of that based from it just coming from a simple educational game, I think.
Yeah. 3 to 1 click. Pity.
Single. So you're the single friend. And
no, I was thinking that you're in a married couple and you're pitying your single friend.
Well, that's it. I was thinking you're the single friend and you have to get through a whole evening with all your married couple's friends without getting pitied. It's a conversational tree sort of thing. And you'd lose if you make any sort of self-deprecating comment and they all go, "Oh, it's okay. You'll find somebody soon."
Then you immediately get thrown back to the start of the conversation. It's kind of like a time dilation thing.
Yeah, exactly.
In which you have to get through the whole night without being pitied.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day, Groundhog Evening. Also, you're all groundhogs.
That's going too far. Okay, so you're in this mansion.
All right. Yep.
And you've got, maybe 7 couples.
Okay.
And yourself.
Okay.
The guy who's organized this whole thing is, he's sort of a little bit eccentric.
Yeah.
But, he's one of your oldest friends and, he's invited all these other couples. Yep. And you also had a +1, but you've just broken up with your
ex whatever. Yep.
So I'm picturing that as you're going through the night, if you get pitied, it immediately takes you back to the start. You as a character immediately know that, something's going on here.
Okay, so it's not just part of the gameplay. It's internal to the game.
Internal that
your character realizes it. Your character experiences
so
it.
you've got maybe the inner monologue of your character.
Okay.
Who can actually mention is what just happened. And then, it goes on, you go through a little bit more conversation and you can, depending on which way you take some of the conversations, you can start finding out, a little bit more about about each of these couples.
Yeah.
But if you go down the wrong conversation tree, you get taken back to the start.
Sounds a bit tedious, though. Does it change? Do things change each time?
Well, you've got 7 different couples that you can be talking to. So
right. Okay. So you go and you visit someone else, and yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's almost a bit of you're sort of puzzling out the best way to work your way through each conversation.
Yep. But you can also, if you get through dinner, then, some of the couples start breaking off into different parts of the mansion. Mm. But you could even have a mystery as to what's actually causing this to repeat and repeat and repeat.
Well, because I was going to say, can you get through the night without talking to anyone? Or does that mean people come over to you and go, "Oh, I heard you broke up with such and such," and that's why you want to be alone. I get it. And then the night resets.
Fuck. So I think if you try to spend the whole night in the toilet, within 3 minutes of you being in there, someone comes over and pities you through the door. So
just get these pity beams coming at you so you know what's happening.
I think you could have a pity meter, that your character can start realizing when he's about to get pitied, or if you've been pitied by a conversation tree in the past. It'll have a red X mark saying that, don't say anything about this. I kind of want to bring a bit of a twist in that not really a twist. You kind of expect it that the owner of this mansion is actually trying out a new technology, and it's like a pity particle beam or something like that, but it's got this, effect of restarting if it...
I think he's actually a member of the Q continuum. And he's just playing a trick on you pitiful mortals.
Okay. And he keeps on calling you Janeway.
Yeah.
Or Picard.
It's actually Jean-Luc Picard in his early life. Q's actually been messing with him that early.
That long.
He didn't. He never made the connection.
Or it's Janeway if you're a female.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Could be either. No, I really quite like that idea.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Being able to, it doesn't have to be anything about murder or anything like that. It can just be literally make it through the night without being pitied.
Yeah.
And you could have some good narrative stuff happening. You could,
Yeah, and there's interesting choices there and interesting dynamics between, what is it that's going to make this person, pity you sort of thing. If one of your friends is kind of the real, jock type kind of, fucking all the time, then they're not going to be pitied by you just going, they're not going to pity you for just going, I broke up with my significant other, because they don't, to them, even though they're in a couple now, the relationship side of things doesn't mean anything. But, if you could bring up something else, it could be completely unrelated to the relationship.
Well, maybe through conversations with other people, you actually get to collect some information.
Yeah.
That you can then use in other people's conversations. So you could even have, the inner monologue of the person's going, you know what? If I told this person about this, I reckon I could take the focus off of me. And
right, yeah, you have diversions you can give. I wonder if maybe the goal is to pity everyone else at the party. Dig into their secrets that they're ashamed of and just give them a little bit of pity, and then you're inoculated against their pity or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But maybe it then resets their night.
Yeah.
You get
Jesus.
You happen to get multiple timelines sort of happening.
Oh God! You start talking to the people who you've previously pitied, and they're like, "Is your night resetting too?" Changes the conversation with them. Oh God, that's getting complicated.
It was getting convoluted, but you know what? It's kind of fun.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Yeah. All right, that's pretty good. You know what? I think we've got time for one more. I think I'm gonna do something tonight, Trevor. I think I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
What's your most anticipated game at the moment?
Oh, shit. Shit.
You didn't know I was going to ask you that. I didn't know I was going to ask you that until 26 seconds ago.
God. See, most people at least get a little bit of time to think about what they're.
That's not
what
true,
they're gonna be
actually.
playing
We
next.
don't usually tell our guests. We don't usually
true.
tell our guests that that's what the final segment is. So unless they've listened.
I'm most looking forward to Ball Boy Blast.
Coming soon from Bitstorm Studios.
Oh shit! What is coming out?
Fuck if I know. I don't play new games.
I'm looking forward.
Don't do any sequels. Are you looking forward to what?
Destiny 2.
No, sequels. I mean, I guess if we do sequels, it has to be the franchise as a whole. Because I was going to say Red Dead Redemption 2 is the only one that's come out recently that I'm.
Oh yeah, that looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, it can be something you haven't played yet that is out.
Okay, I'm looking forward to playing the game Lone Echo.
Okay, that's the VR one, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll forget I know that because, as usual with this segment, we usually do with the guests, but I thought I'd mess with Trevor tonight and throw that at him. We're going to throw away everything we know about the game Lone Echo and just grab the title and turn that into a new game. A game that would have the title Lone Echo. So that's an interesting one. Obviously, brings sound to mind.
Yes.
In a lonely space. There's been a few games recently, so I don't actually think we should go down this path, where they use sort of echolocation or some sort of sound-based thing to sort of reveal the world around you, which is an interesting idea, but it's sort of been done.
Okay. So I like the idea of this guy stumbling through the desert, comes across a ghost town.
Okay. That's cool. Yep.
You're literally alone.
Mm-hmm.
And the only friend that you've got is your echo. Because you're within this
Like canyon
sort of thing.
Okay.
And I like the idea of, this place looks lived in. There's like drinks being poured that there's no one there drinking them, but the drinks have been poured. It looks as though like this was recently being lived in.
Yep.
But there's now no one here.
All right.
And then there's the mystery.
So is it so I guess the echo could come from multiple places. Because you could take that from a very sort of metaphorical point of view that even just those objects being there are like echoes of the people who lived here at some point. Whatever this mystery ends up being, which I guess we'll figure out.
Yes.
But you could have the very real echo of, you live in this canyon and maybe. Okay, so let's come up with some reason for this character to need to yell, because there could just be an interesting thing that, like, once you get there, loud noises and you yelling echo back because they would because of this canyon. But as the game goes on, you start to notice that when these things happen, those echoes shift a bit. Like, they don't sound exactly the same coming back. And it starts taking on these different qualities.
You need to have amazing, 7.1 surround sound headphones.
Yeah.
To be able to pinpoint where the echo is coming from. I like the idea of like there being a point in town in which if you try to actually yell out in this particular point, the echoes actually cancel each other out. So there is no echo in this.
That'd be really fucking creepy. Like, you almost have to make them play this game with headphones on, or maybe it's a VR game. I don't know. Because if you're in this place where most sounds have at least a little bit of echo, you could really fuck with people when they do something in this one place where they would expect echo and then get none back. That'd be really cool.
So I kind of like the idea that being part of the mystery, but I find a lot of games nowadays, they just handhold a lot.
Yep.
Like tell you exactly what to do. I like the idea of it being, if you remember playing like games like Alone in the Dark, they only gave you like one little thing that you had to do, but you end up having to like explore and just try different things out.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking of that. Yeah, well, that's true. And part of the reason that worked is because games in those days were much less likely to be sort of an open world sort of space, right?
Yeah.
So Alone in the Dark specifically was very precursor to Resident Evil and others, those early Resident Evils where it was like fixed camera positions in the world. And so you had very limited places you could go at any one time, and they're mostly fairly linear. I kind of like the idea of going back to that in a game like this where, it means you can make it a bit more open around the mystery because you're not just plopping this person in this open world and expecting them to find all the plot points or the mystery clues or whatever that you've put in there.
You're sticking them in this deserted town.
Yeah.
Which could have, maybe 20-something buildings. But I think one of the things that this guy has to have, and it's like his own only possession, is a gold pocket watch.
Okay.
That you can just flip open and you can see like the time is going and whether it's, going in hyper real time or whatever. I like the idea of a day-night cycle that your first thing that you need to do when you get to this town is find something to eat or drink.
Okay, so there's a bit of like survival aspect to it too.
Bit of a survival aspect, but you now, you're there. Once you actually find out that the saloon's larder actually is full of food and there is,
right.
There's a well there, so...
Okay. It's more just an introduction to the game in a sense.
Introduction to the game, but now you've got to try and work out how you can either scale your way out of this canyon or...
Well, I think you pretty quickly find out that there's no way out of here without solving this mystery.
Yep.
Because you need a horse or you need a carriage or a way to get out of this canyon. So... let's just, because we've set it up really well, let's try to come up with some sort of resolution to this narrative. So, this guy gets to this town, nobody's there, but it seems like people have been there recently. There's something to do with echoes. Do the echoes, help him figure this out, I guess? Or is it just more that it sort of points into the important parts? Town?
I think... maybe with the shifting echoes, you could actually have the echo at some points, being more prominent in a certain location. So if you start heading in that location, the echo gets, shorter and shorter and shorter.
I'm getting a very strong vibe now of heavy rain because to hear the echo constantly, you just have to walk around going, Jason! 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 And just hearing the echo coming back.
But I kind of like the idea of that. And then you stand in that one spot in the middle of Main Street and you go, Jason! And nothing happens. Nothing comes back. And there's that musical sting of what the fuck?
And then
the
Jason
first time
appears.
you actually do it.
Well, yeah. What I was going to say is, do you start hearing the echoes of the other people in the town sort of thing? As you start solving this mystery, do you start getting a sense of them coming back?
I think maybe you can have... I like the idea of shadows with echoes. Because, to me, a shadow is light's echo, if you know what I mean. So you can actually have...
Yeah, okay.
No.
It's a nice thought. Yes, go on.
I'm trying to be,
poetic.
Poetic, but
yeah.
I'm not a poet.
That's fine. That's fine.
I like the idea of, as it gets closer to dark...
Right.
You start seeing shifting shadows and, you can start hearing other noises of maybe the saloon sounds like it's got lots of conversation, but when you get there, there's nothing sort of there. So your mind's sort of playing tricks on you, kind of like that, eternal darkness.
Okay. Yeah,
game.
You can make it so that you see things and then turn around and they're gone and that kind of thing.
Yep.
All right. So what's the mystery? How does it resolve? Is it just
so
you somehow got sucked into a parallel dimension?
I'm really trying to not go the George Lucas Kingdom of the Crystal Skull aliens route, but I kind of like the idea of the aliens.
Right. Maybe you got sucked in. Maybe you got sucked into yesterday, and the Langoliers are coming.
Yeah, God. Actually, I'm just wondering if this could be, sort of like a kind of afterlife sort of story that you actually perished in the either in this town or in the desert.
That could be cool. Like so it's actually your ghost that made it there, and you're seeing the echoes of the living.
Of the living, and when someone dies, then you actually
they can't.
That's when you're actually able to interact.
That's when you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like you get to the point where you've figured out enough that you can you start to see like these shimmering shapes of the living, which you don't realize that's what it is. Because presumably, like, we can lead the player on and they think they're ghosts, right? They think they've come to this town where everyone's died and they start seeing these ghostly things play out. But then you're in the saloon and you get this really strong image of these ghosts getting into an argument, and one of them shoots the other. And as that person gets shot, they like become fully.
You see the body fall backwards, and then you just see
in your world. Like then they're fully solid to you.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool. That'd be if you did that well enough, that'd be a really awesome twist to like show the player what's going on.
Yeah. And as part of the whole thing, your final thing is to actually activate the portal at the area where there's no echo. That's where the portal to heaven or hell, or whichever you want to bring it in, actually will appear. But you've got to get down and try and work out what the final thing that you need to actually do to actually
why you're hanging around haunting this town,
why you're hanging around, and you can bring this whole thing in that the guy that actually got shot, he may stick around for a while, realize that he is dead, there's nothing else for him, and you help find out straight away that he can just leave.
Yeah, that'd be a good narrative hook there of that's how you figure out that that's how you have to leave, but you've got unfinished business of some sort, and so you can start finding out about the people in this town, and maybe you find out that you lived here or something, or that someone you love has moved here, and that's why you've been drawn to this place, or and maybe that person was like your daughter or something, and she's in a horrible marriage or something like that, so you try to work out how to make her life better, and that's your final thing. Do you end up getting to like figuring out how to communicate with her or something, or is it literally just like, how do you have any effect on that world?
I think as you start realizing that you are dead, that maybe you can actually interact with simple things within the world.
Yeah, that's cool.
I kind of like.
Can you like? Oh no, that's gross. I was gonna because I forgot for a second that you said it was your daughter, because I was gonna say, can you like sneak up behind them when they're throwing clay and have a ghost moment?
Oh no!
But not with your daughter. Cool.
Okay, well, I really like that idea.
Yeah, we had some. This is another good episode. We had some good ones tonight. We've gone late as well, so we should probably finish up. Thank you for joining us this week. We had fun. I hope you had fun. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram if you'd like to come chat with us or see what we're up to. Bitstormcast on all of those social media networks. We also have a Facebook group, and I forgot to put up a listener click pitch this week. Sorry. But we do a listener click pitch there most weeks. Where we'll put up a prompt, and you can tell us your ideas, and we'll put up our ideas for that too. Facebook.com/groups/Bitstorm, or just search for Bitstorm. We're also on Podchaser. You can just go to Podchaser.
Are we?
Surprisingly so. Podchaser.com. Search for Bitstorm. Soon, because as I'm the developer on this site, we will have the ability for podcasts to claim their page and have a custom URL. So soon you'll be able to go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm. It'll be much easier for us to talk to you about.
So check us out on iTunes, where you can rate, review, and subscribe there. All ratings will help us, be seen by more people who may just stumble upon our podcast in the games and hobby section.
Mm-hmm.
You can check out our website, bitstormcast.com, and we'd also like to plug the AGPN, the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. We've got PAX coming up, and we've got a couple of extra guests coming on. We've got like 1 or 2 planned at the moment. We're hoping to get a lot more planned at PAX, but definitely check out the AGPN and all the podcasts on that network.
We're in October now, and that means the 2 pods a day campaign has started, the latest one, which we are going to be part of. We haven't come up yet. They've done 3 days, but you can check out 2 pods a day. You can check out 2.
Although by the time this podcast comes out, we may have been
featured. Yeah, you can check out 2 pods a day on Twitter, and they'll have links there to their website. And there've been a few podcasts featured so far. Lots of interesting indie podcasts coming up there with reviews of each one by the other podcasts being featured. So that's a really cool little campaign.
And finally, we'd like to thank Kuradust for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
All right, that's the end of our podcast. I am Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
This is the tagline.
And...